Shabnam Mogharabi is a media maker devoted to joy, meaning, and impact. She's the founder of the Joy Brigade, a longtime force behind mission-driven storytelling, and most notably is co-founder and former CEO soulpancake, alongside Rainn Wilson, where she helped reach over 1 billion people around the world. Today, she continues that work through Soul Boom, exploring spirituality in a way that's playful, practical, and profound. A Henry Crown Fellowship alum, positive psychology devotee, and sought-after speaker, Shabnam believes joy isn't soft, it's transformational. Please enjoy my time with Shabs.
Hey, y'all. Let's go there. Shabracadabra. You ready to go?
I'm ready.
Let's do this. Shabs, I always like to start by talking about how we know one another. Do you want to tell everyone or do you want me to?
You can tell everyone how we know each other. The
Um,
depth of mining our souls together.
Yeah, we're part of a cult. It's called the Henry Crown Fellowship. But and we've had a lot of fellows on, but you are one of my classmates, which means that you are in my heart. We are family.
Yes, we are.
Does
Ride or dies.
ride or die. Doesn't matter how much time, space, whatever. We are what somebody once told me, we are 4 a.m. friends, meaning if one of us
Yes.
calls at 4 a.m., we pick up.
100%. You can call me at 4 a.m.
Yeah. Although I wouldn't because you have small children and you need your sleep.
Those children might be crawling into my bed at 4
This is true.
a.m.
They're your 4 a.m.
I will
friends.
probably be awake at that
Yeah.
time when you call me.
You have enough 4 a.m. friends under your own roof.
I do.
Okay, babe. How do I describe you when I talk about you? How should I tell people about you? What are you in the world? How do you describe yourself?
These days I have no idea, but I used to describe myself as a storyteller, a producer, an ambassador of joy. That's how I kind of have described myself in the past. But these days, who knows what I'm doing in my life?
I mean, you're still storytelling and producing and bringing the joy. What makes you
I
hesitate?
am. I Carla. You and I both know this because we've talked about this, but it is that ineffable little drive inside of me to constantly want more and to build more and to achieve more and to get more of the gold stars. And when I don't get enough of them, I'm like, what? Then I clearly am not doing what I'm meant to be doing, even though I feel so in my purpose, more actually in the work that I'm doing now, but I'm not earning as much and I don't have that big title. And so those things then plant those seeds of maybe it's not as good as it used to be. And that's hard sometimes.
I mean, it's such a fucking bear. I call it the immigrant curse, the immigrant mentality. This kind of like
Amen.
feeling like we have to maximize on every single opportunity.
And be so grateful for every opportunity and not overstep and over ask because every opportunity is sacred and golden and you have to have so much gratitude for it. And yeah, that is being a child of immigrants is both a blessing and a curse.
Yeah. So I want to pull the thread on something you just said. You said, even though I've never been more in my purpose, I think that's what you said,
Yeah.
than I am right now. Yet it's not
Yeah.
enough.
Yep. What's that all about? I don't
What
know.
is that about? You're in your purpose.
It's true. The films I'm working on now, the projects I'm working on, the book that just came out a couple of months ago, the advisory work I'm doing, like so much of the work that I'm doing actually sits in exactly the space I want to be in with the people I like working with and learn the most from. And I have beautiful babies that I craved for 20 plus years. So like this is the moment that I should be feeling like I'm flying on cloud nine. And yet every day I'm like, but I need to drive for more and I need to build more and and that inner voice, it is tough to silence sometimes.
So what gives? What's the restlessness about? Asking for a friend.
Girl, if I figured that out, we probably wouldn't be on this podcast together.
Or we'd be on a much bigger one.
We'd be on a much bigger one. That's right. We would be having a much different conversation. We'd be the ones talking to Oprah about it if we figured it out. I don't know. I don't know what gives. I don't know. And I have gone through phases where I've been better equipped to silence that voice, and periods where that voice gets louder, even after I've like addressed it and acknowledged it. And okay, that's not 100% reality. And yet it still comes back. It rears its little ugly head every once in a while. And I've been going through a phase this past, 6 to 9 months of it being louder than it has been in a couple of years. So I don't know what that's about.
Can I tell you what I see?
Sure.
From the outside looking in, I see a woman who has designed her life from the moment she set foot into this country. I see a woman who is very driven to make a difference and leave this world better than she found it. I see someone who has had a bit of a dream existence. If you think about the rare air and circles that you've operated in, partnering with Rainn Wilson to build soulpancake, to create the likes of Kid President and bring that sort of joy into our world, being acquired by participant media, having an exit an event fairly young in your life, and then dreaming of having a family and having that show up just in time on the heels of that event. And then now being given the gift to simultaneously spend time with your children while working with people that you love on work that you love and get paid for it.
Carla, I think your superpower is seeing people when they can't see themselves.
But I don't say that to give you any shame whatsoever.
No.
I say that because I have always been in awe of you. A lot of people are in awe of you. You give so much to so many. And yeah, I want you to keep going. I also want to push you to keep going because I think there's wisdom in that voice. What is that little voice?
You're hired as my coach.
That's not what I'm trying to do. I'm not trying to coach you. So, okay. So what is that voice? Because that's because I also don't want to ignore that.
Yeah. I mean, that voice is telling me to always keep moving and growing and doing more and seizing opportunities. That voice is powerful. It's a powerful motivator to do things, to change things in your life, to want to build more. So I don't think it's a bad voice. Like I don't actually like dislike the voice. I think the voice is actually really powerful and motivating. I don't think I would have the grit, the determination, the drive if I didn't have that voice. I do think sometimes, though, there are scenarios where that voice doesn't serve me. And I think in this chapter of my life, you are probably seeing more of the blessings than I've been able to focus on, especially in the last few months. And in the last few months, I've had amazing things happen. I've had 2 documentaries get greenlit with financing and are going. I had a book come out, with Rainn that Rainn and I wrote. I've had some great things happen the last 6 months, but I think because there's also been kind of down things in the personal life. And I've also had moments career-wise where I'm like, I should be earning more than I am, despite having these great projects. Why am I not earning more? And I think that has made the voice be a little bit louder. So it's not a bad voice, but sometimes it comes at inopportune times.
Well, and it's quite frankly telling you what you want.
Yeah.
I mean, no excuses. It's just telling you what you want.
It is telling me what I want, but I also have learned that sometimes what I want is not what's best for me. I went through a couple of years of really looking for that next big job. It was like 2 years straight. And it was continuous rejection where I would be up for the big job. I'd have multiple rounds of interviews, 5, 6, 7 rounds of interviews. I was presenting to the CEO, the board, et cetera, about what I was going to do in this new role. And then I wouldn't get the job. I would be a finalist, bridesmaid, not be bride. You actually were the person who told me that maybe rejection is God's protection. And it did. It stopped me in my tracks when you said it, because I was like, holy shit. Can I curse? Sorry. Holy shit. This is, she's right. I believe in God. I am a person of faith, and I've been rejected nonstop for 2 years. And what is that telling me? Maybe I'm not meant to go get that big job. And so, yes, the voice is telling me what I want, but sometimes maybe what you want is not what's right for you in that moment. And so I don't want to dismiss the voice because I do think it's an important voice, but I also want to recognize that sometimes the answer to that voice is not right now.
Mhm. Well, and then to take the focus off you a little bit and to actually project, because the thing I'm exploring too is what makes me want the big job? Because I went through this same experience and very recently got rejected for a big job that I didn't even pursue. They came to me and then they told me I was a fast no. And I was like, what the fuck? I didn't even ask for this. And
And then
so,
you're like, but you don't want me?
right,
What?
totally. Even though I didn't want the job, so messed up. So what I'm wondering is, because I think there was probably a seed of you that didn't want it as well, because you knew that you had the kids and you wanted quality time with the kids, and you needed to have flexibility. Um, so what I'm kind of asking myself right now is what makes us want the big job, and what makes a job big? Is it the
Mm.
salary? Is it the fact that it's coming through a payroll system and it's reliable
It's
and
reliable.
predictable
There's health insurance.
and it's
Yeah.
predictable?
Yeah, maybe. And maybe that is very driven from the immigrant mentality, right? Like in the immigrant mentality, it's like you work your butt off to get into the big name college, right? Like getting into that big name college is a marker that you've made it in this country. And similarly, I think it's the is it the big company name? Is it the big title? Is it the big salary? Like does it check those boxes to
Yeah.
make it big? And I do think a lot of that is informed by, you know, I don't know. We didn't have a lot growing up, and my parents are refugees. Like they didn't choose to immigrate here; they were forced to immigrate
Yeah.
here, and they had to start over with absolutely nothing as kids. They were, 19 and 21. They were babies and had to start over, and then
They were
immediately
my
had
kids' age.
they were your kids' ages, having to move to an entirely new country,
That
and a year later had a baby, right? And so to be in that much change and turmoil, I totally get why it was like work really hard, achieve, like we've got to like make sure that we earn enough money so that you're not in the position that we are now, that you're able to have stability and success. And that gets ingrained. It is part of my DNA. It is so part of my DNA that it's hard sometimes, it feels, to unwind it.
I also wonder, and please forgive me for what I'm about to say. I also wonder how much of that rejection, because being a refugee is rejection, how much of that rejection is replaying?
Hmm. It's funny. I feel like my whole life has been uh in chapters of overcoming rejection.
Yeah, you're in the industry. You planted yourself, by the way, in the
In the
industry
industry
of
that
most
is
rejection.
95% rejection.
Yeah. I was
It's so
recently
funny that
talking
you
to an
say that. Like
actor.
I literally am having this moment of like, well, shit. My
Yeah.
whole life
You
has been a
you
story of
invited it.
rejection. I
You invited
did.
it. So I was
Mhm.
recently talking to an actor and he was like, my biggest thing that I'm having to overcome and heal is that I have a very adverse and severe reaction to rejection. And I was like, and you decided to be a fucking actor?
Actor.
Like, oh my God. Yeah, you are
And
inviting.
I don't know. I actually almost like thrive on the rejection. It's going to sound crazy, but it's like you reject me and I'm like, oh yeah, I'm going to figure out a way to make this thing happen then. Like literally one of the documentaries that I am
Yes.
going right now is called The Notorious G.o.d. It is about God in America. We first conceived this as a series in 2016, went out and shopped it. I remember sitting in the room with Netflix when they said this is too controversial. They can make, Sex on a Beach series, but they can't make a series about God because it's too controversial. And now, 10 years later, I'm still like, I'm going to get this thing made.
Okay, there's so much here. Holy shit, there's so much here. The fact that it was 2016 is significant. Have you
Mhm,
seen everybody doing the 2016 thing?
mhm.
Do you know why?
A decade has passed.
And
I
there's
mean, I
also a
assume, yeah.
correlation apparently spiritually, like in terms of astronomy, there's a correlation apparently between 2026 and 2016. Apparently the
Oh,
energies are going to
really?
be similar. Yeah. And
Okay.
so that's fascinating that it's now happening. It's also the
Mhm.
year we met.
That is the year we met. We're doing our 10-year reunion of our class
Yeah.
this year.
Yeah. And the other thing that you're making me think about, and I've brought this up on the podcast before. Have we talked about this book before, Existential Kink?
No.
So there's this book called Existential Kink. It is about how we invite and hold in place all the things that we complain about in our life, and we secretly get off on it. So, so the fact that you are like, yeah, that rejection is my fuel. I'm going to show
Yeah.
you. That's existential kink at its core.
Oh my God. Now I'm gonna have to
It's
write a book about rejection as my through line. Oh,
it's your fuel.
it is my fuel. And this is, you know, what's really funny? I'm now like replaying in my mind every chapter of my life and how it's been defined by rejection, and me being like, no, I'm gonna find a way through this. So
I
I'm
want to
now
talk about
like,
it.
holy cow. So this is gonna be hilarious. I'm just gonna show you. I applied to a bunch of colleges, and my dream college was Stanford, right? Like I wanted to go to Stanford. That was the school I wanted to go to college for. And I got waitlisted at Stanford. And I was like determined to make the wait list happen. And it was only because my youngest sister was like, but you got a full scholarship to USC. You should go to USC. Da, da, da. And I was like, no, I was like literally ready to reject the full scholarship from USC because I was so determined to get myself to Stanford. And actually going to USC is the thing that actually set me on my whole entire path. So I find it hilarious that I'm like, from the time I was 18, I was like, they rejected me. No, damn it. I'm going to find a way to make my thing, as opposed to just looking at the amazing blessing that was in front of me from another school that was willing to give me a full ride.
Oh
What
my
is wrong with
God.
me?
That's crazy. You never would have gotten into the entertainment industry, probably.
Nope. I would not have gotten into the entertainment industry. I think if I'd gone to Stanford, I would have studied international law or something like that. I don't think I would have gone into entertainment. And I actually didn't go into entertainment. I went into journalism because of a counselor at USC.
Get
Yeah.
out.
Yeah.
Okay, this is now making so much sense in terms of your approach to your work. Okay, tell me another rejection story. I want to pull this thread.
Oh, here's another funny thing. So I have an idea for a fiction book that's loosely based on my life. And the title of the book is called The One Before the One. And it's because before I got married, I was in 6 serious relationships. And all 6 of them, we broke up. And the very next person they dated was the person they married.
You've told me
So
this before.
yes.
You were the
So
one before the one.
I joked with my best friend. I'd always be like, I'm the one before the one. I like train them to get married because it seems like they don't want to marry me, but then the very next person they like marry. And so I kind of have this idea of like a loosely based on my own life, romantic rom-com style fiction book about the one before the one, where I write kind of this story of constantly being the rejected one.
Oh my God. First of all, I'm going to call such bullshit on that. It may have happened that way, but girl, you are the prize. There's somebody listening to this podcast going, damn, she got away. But okay, so you want to hear my book titles that I haven't written?
Okay. Yeah, I want to hear your book titles.
There is The Cocktail Waitress MBA.
Okay. I like that.
None of this actually ever happened.
Okay.
And because I'd have to like change all the names and places, I could never actually put the actual names. And then Starve Trip Fuck. Instead of Eat, Pray,
You'll
Love.
never get on a bookshelf with that last one. You're gonna have an editor in New York being like, so let's talk about the title.
So my speaking career is over. Okay. All right, Shabs. So this is so fascinating. So before we move on to your formative moments, because I do think that you have such a special story about how you got here and then what you did with the opportunity. Let's talk about these documentaries. So you mentioned the Notorious g.o.d. Tell us when it's coming out, where people can look for it. what your goal is in the work, and then we can talk about the other one.
Yeah. So the Notorious g.o.d just got financing. So literally in December, we got conditionally approved from a foundation for the full funding of the production. So we will probably start pre-production on that film in March, April, and then it will run with post through early 27. And that's when we would be taking it out for distribution. So I can't tell you where to see it yet because we are very early in the process. We just got the funding for it. And the goal with that film, and I'm doing it with Rainn. Rainn is going to be the on-camera talent for it, and I'll produce the film. But the goal with that is to not debate whether there is or isn't a God. It's to kind of assume that, okay, fine, there's something out there, something divine, some essence, some universal force, but do we actually need it in the modern world? That's really the question that we're going to explore, because God has led to a lot of wars. God has led to a lot of destruction and hate. God has led to the death of children. God has led to a lot of awful things. And yet, maybe there is a role for God still in our lives. And to not have it be the judgmental Santa Claus God that says, you're naughty, you're nice, but really think about God differently. Because in an era where you've got AI and AI can be God, and you've got antidepressants that can help you deal with your, malaise, and you've got medication and, mushrooms and retreats and yoga. And like, do we still need God? And that's really the question that we're going to kind of have a conversation about in this film.
And is the goal, you mentioned you originally conceived it as a series, is that right?
Yeah, so it was originally conceived as a docuseries where we explore kind of a different aspect of life through the lens of what God's is. We've evolved it now to be kind of a 110-minute documentary about Rainn going on an exploration of, hey, I believe in God and I'm still screwed up. And do I actually need God in the modern world, given that there's all these other things I can turn to?
Yeah.
And it's going on that exploration, and we exploring everything from pop culture to, I'm on a mission to get an interview with the Pope, and you know how I feel about rejection. So I'm on a mission to get an interview with the Pope. I'm on a mission.
At least he's from Chicago.
You know.
We have connections.
I know. And also he just had a whole summit about film. And if you read his speech, it's actually a beautiful sermon about the importance of storytelling and film and cinema. And so I'm like, we're going to get the Pope.
You go get rejected, Shabs. Don't get rejected.
We're going to get rejected and then find a way to get the Pope.
Okay. So I feel compelled to ask, do you know Elaine Pagels?
No.
Oh my God. I want to put Elaine Pagels on y'all's radar for this.
Okay.
So Elaine Pagels is a trustee at the Aspen Institute with me. She's done the podcast, so I'll send it to you.
Okay.
She was a professor of religious studies at Princeton for years and years. She just retired in her 80s. She wrote an amazing book, her memoir called Why Religion, which she gifted to me when I was in my darkest hour. And she is a bit of an Indiana Jones of religious texts. So she speaks ancient languages and uncovers parts of the Bible, the Torah, different religious texts that have literally been buried in some instances. She translates them and then publishes about them. And she is fascinating.
That is fascinating.
Anyway, I feel compelled to connect y'all on this because
I would love to chat with her.
I think she'd be super interesting for you guys to talk to. And
I would love to chat with her.
And she also has had a very difficult life, and her belief in God was challenged and yet fortified. So, it's a super.
Many people have that with their relationship with God and faith. Yeah, it's true.
Really, really, and she's just amazing. She's amazing. She's super aspirational to me. I definitely need to connect.
I'd love to chat with her. Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so then that's one which is in production, about to happen, about to be birthed. What is the other one?
The other one is actually a very personal story. So it's called The Disappearance, and it's about my grandfather, who was a general in the Shah's army in Iran. And 45 years ago, he went to a Bahá'í meeting and he was taken and never seen again. We don't know what happened to him. We don't know if he was killed, if he was thrown in jail. We don't know what happened to him and the other 10 people who were taken. And we just have never talked about it in my family. His photo has always been on the wall. He's been this martyr who gave his life for his faith. And he's kind of this aspirational figure, but we actually didn't know anything about him or even what our parents went through when they found out that he was taken. And so my cousin Bayan and I, we're actually double first cousins. So my my mom and my aunt sisters married to my dad and my uncle brothers. So it's two sisters married to two
Wow.
brothers. My aunt had all boys. My mom had all girls. And so we are literally double first cousins. We grew up like brothers and sisters and spent a lot of time together. And so Bayan actually worked with me at Soulpancake for years. He was my head of production and then went off on his own to produce a bunch of other and direct a bunch of other content. And now he's got his own company. And the two of us kind of a few years ago said, oh, we should, what is the story that only we can tell? And it was about our grandfather. So the disappearance, we got it fully financed last June. We started production on it in September and we're halfway through production. So we'll probably wrap up production in March and then head into post. The goal is to submit to festivals. So it's because it's kind of an indie family story. We'll probably go the festival route in terms of how to market it and promote it, and then hopefully get distribution from there. So we'll probably try to hit the festivals in 27 with that film.
Okay. So, wow, I think I just learned something about you that I didn't know. I always thought that you were introduced to the Baha'i faith once you guys got here, but it was in Iran that your grandfather, so the Baha'i faith was something that you guys practiced in Iran as well?
Yeah, so my mom is on my mom's side. I am a sixth generation Baha'i, and on my
Whoa.
dad's side, I'm a fifth generation Baha'i. So we've
Oh,
been Baha'is for a very, very long time. My family has been Baha'is for a very long time. And yeah, my grandfather was on the National Spiritual Assembly, which is the elected governing body of the Baha'is in Iran. And so it was at one of those meetings that the 9 members plus 2 guests, the 11 of them were basically people in Black clothing with masks and head coverings and guns, came in, handcuffed all 11 of them, put them in the back of a truck, and drove them off. And they were never seen again. And so at the time, they weren't killing Baha'is in Iran. The revolution had just happened. And while Baha'is were heavily targeted, they hadn't killed Baha'is yet. So when they were taken, my whole family, my grandmother, his kids, my parents, they all thought, okay, they've arrested them. They've put them in prison somewhere. We're going to find out where they are and try to get them out. And my grandmother actually spent, at that point, my dad, my uncle, they all were out of Iran, came out of Iran because the revolution had already happened. But my grandmother was still there with my grandfather, and she spent the next 4 years searching for him. She went to prisons. She went to government officials. She tried to plead with the individuals in the Ayatollah's governing regime to find out where they were. And she just wouldn't give up, even though people told her after a year, like they probably were killed, like they probably have died. She just didn't give up and spent 4 years looking for him, and then finally escaped through Pakistan and went to where my aunt was in Canada. But yeah, we've never told this story, this chapter of our family story, and I think the way that we're connecting it to today is, the Baha'is were being taken off the streets and everything was being blamed on Baha'is. And a lot of the radio sermons you listened to at that time, Baha'is were spies, Baha'is were agents of Israel, Baha'is were agents of Russia, Baha'is were responsible for the spiritual undermining of the country. And so Baha'is were heavily targeted. And I think what's happening in America today is very similar. Immigrants are the bad guys, and you're
yeah.
seeing people being taken off of the streets, and they're being blamed for all our problems. And so I think there's a lot of corollaries to what's happening today in America. And on top of that, I think on a very personal level, this thing happened and it affected our dads, and then it affected how they raised us. And it's not lost on Bayan and I that we went into a field of telling stories about people you may not, ordinary people doing extraordinary things, people you may not know about. We both have lived in kind of the documentary telling real people stories space, and we've never told our own story. And so I think that intergenerational trauma is also really an interesting aspect to explore. But we've uncovered crazy things in the last 6 months making this film, and had some really cathartic dinners, like where my dad, my uncle, tears, and we're like, whoa, you guys haven't cried in 45 years of knowing you, like what is happening right now? And so it's been a beautiful process. It's been hard, it's been emotionally draining, but I think we're going to have something really meaningful at the end of it.
Well, and it sounds like to me you're healing your entire family.
in a lot of ways, some of the things that my dad and my uncle talk about, we've never, ever heard them say some of the feelings they had at that time. My dad was young. My dad was 19 years old. And he was like, I only knew my dad as a child. I never got to experience him as an adult. And I see how you guys will come and want to talk to us about things as an adult, as, peers almost. And he's like, wow, I never had that with my dad. And he's tearing up. And we're just like, whoa, like this is something we've never talked about. And it's just really, it's really beautiful. And does I think anyone who's lost a parent at a young age, I think will relate to what that's like and how the void that leaves.
Yeah, it's so layered. It's so layered in terms of just family systems and just the context of what's happening now. And I want to get to the Baha'i faith too, because it's such a beautiful faith. Now,
Yeah.
Shabs, I have to ask an asshole question, which is, would you be able to do this documentary in the quote unquote big job?
Nope. It's not an asshole question. It's absolutely true.
Can you put a price tag on that?
No, my mom actually said something to me a year and a half ago because I was really down about not being able to get the big job and all the rejection. And, my mom goes, Shabnam, I don't want to hear this is very immigrant mom, right? She's like, Shabnam, I don't want to hear all this, complaining about not getting a job. You've wanted a family for so long. You've wanted a family for so long. And God finally gave you these two little babies. Take your time, spend the time with them, and work on projects that let you spend time with them. Stop worrying about going and getting a job. What are you going to do? Be on a plane every week and, not see them? You wanted this for so long. And she like, immigrant mom mommed me. And I was like, you're right, mom. Fine.
I like your
Years
mom.
of therapy and you just need mom to
Yes.
scold
So
you.
amen to that. Amen to that. Okay, so I want people to know about the Baha'i faith. It's a tiny faith. I wouldn't know of it if it wasn't for you and Rainn. And it's beautiful. So tell us a little bit about this tiny faith. It doesn't have a lot of people that practice it in the world. Tell us about
Yeah,
it.
there's about 6 million Baha'is in the world, so it's a little bit smaller than Judaism. There's about 900,000 practitioners in the United States. The Baha'i faith was born in Iran about 250 years ago. It was founded by a gentleman whose title was Baha'u'llah, which means the glory of God. And the message of the Baha'i faith is really one of unity, first and foremost. So we believe that all religions kind of build on each other. They're all messages that are progressively building on each other from one common source. Call it God, call it Allah, call it Jehovah, whatever you want to call that force, that this one God is providing kind of progressive education to humanity. And so we believe that the next kind of message is around unity and peace and justice. And that was brought by Baha'u'llah. And the core premises are that there is this one God, one people. So we need to get rid of discrimination based on faith, on religion, on ethnicity, on gender. It's really about kind of recognizing that we're all members of one human family and that our one purpose in life is to serve humanity. That if you live a life of service, that then creates and forms the basis for a world that has justice as a core principle, and that justice is a precursor to peace, and peace is the precursor to unity. And so that's kind of the idea of the Baha'i faith in a very, very, very brief nutshell.
Yeah. And how has that faith impacted you in your life?
Yeah, I mean, I think I grew up a Baha'i, so I was raised a Baha'i. And, in the Baha'i faith, you're taught to very much so honor all other religions. And so, it's no wonder that my minor in college was comparative religion because it was something that was kind of enforced as a child to really read about and understand and learn about other religions. And so I've always had kind of this spiritual center growing up. I did leave it in my 20s. I had a series of bad relationships and I was like, wait, do I actually believe all this stuff that I kind of grew up with? And so I do think in my 20s, I kind of veered away from my faith and came back to it in my late 20s, early 30s. As we all do, we wrestle with the things that we're raised with and the beliefs. But what I found is that in my early 30s, as I was going through a lot of turmoil professionally, turmoil personally, I found myself coming back to the prayers of my childhood. And I think that's what made me go, oh, wow, I still am drawn to and believe these things. And these words are still powerful for me. And I think that's what brought me back to my faith. And still to this day, my nightly prayers are the things that keep me grounded in a spiritual connection. And so, yeah, I grew up in the Baha'i faith, and it's always kind of been in the back of my mind. And I've had my ebbs and flows in the depth of the relationship with it. But now I would consider myself firmly a Baha'i that prays every night and has a believes in cultivating the spiritual life, both of myself and my kids. Um, and I will say, the idea of service being like a core component of how I was raised and what you're meant to do also shaped, I think, the decisions I made about even the career path I chose. It was all about like, how can I apply my skills to be the most service to people? And I thought in my early career with journalism, like telling stories and revealing truths would be the way to do that. And I really had a reckoning with journalism in my 20s, and fell out of love with it, and then came to storytelling in a different way.
So I want to talk about that. I want to talk about how you came into the entertainment industry and those early years and falling out of love with journalism and then moving into entertainment. What was happening in your life? How old were you? How did that play out?
That was a fun chapter. So I was the kid. I was literally the kid who we would go to dinner parties, and there were literal photos of me at 9 years old sitting with a book in the corner of a couch while there's a whole party happening around me. I've always been obsessed with stories and reading. I was always carrying around a notebook that I'd write little stories in. There's literal home video footage of me with a cadre of 8 cousins, and I'm directing them like, okay, you're going to stand here and we're going to put on this play about the 3 little pigs, and we're going to dress this up, and you're going to play this role, and here's what you're going to say, and we'd rehearse it and then perform it so storytelling and stories have always been part of my life. And I went into college not sure what to study, and it was a counselor who told me, you love stories, you love telling stories, you love reading, and you also are really curious about people and want to be of service. Like journalism actually like is the intersection of that. Like you have to get to know people, you have to learn their stories in order to tell them. And it's a bastion of truth. It's a service to the world. And I was like, yes. And then the more courses I took in it and the more I exercised it, I was like, I love this. And then I got in the real world. And my first job out of college was for People magazine. And I was a stringer. So I would go to all these events. I'd get assigned from the assignment editor to go to all these various events and be on the red carpet and like interview celebrities and interview people like who are, doing things. And I originally took the job thinking, oh, at some point I'll shift to the other side of People magazine, which is ordinary stories, right? Like ordinary people doing extraordinary things. But for now, they just assigned me to the celebrity stuff.
The inverse of what most people probably were inspired.
The inverse of what most people want. Most people wanted to go to People and report on all the big, the Emmy party and Oscar parties. And I was like, no, but I'm going to get to the side where they report on the like ordinary people doing cool things. That's what I wanted to do, which fast forward obviously didn't happen because People became like all celebrity. But in those early days, I would be interviewing all these celebrities and trying to ask them like these inane questions, like dumb questions. And I remember I was given a bunch of questions and was sent to a club opening that Lindsay Lohan was supposed to be at. And she never showed up on the opening.
That's on brand.
And right. She didn't show up. And I actually ended up talking to the security. I'm like, oh yeah, I was told that Lindsay Lohan was going to be here. That was the one thing my assignment editor told me to get. And he was like, she's here. She came through the back. Right. And I was like, oh. So I go into the club and I'm looking around everywhere for her, and I find her in the bathroom, high as a kite. And I was like, I'm supposed to ask her if she ever Googles herself. Like, what? Like, what am I doing? And I left and I told my editor, like, she didn't show up. I just couldn't bring myself to do it. Anyway, so fast forward, I left People and I went and got a master's degree in journalism and media management, because I thought, okay, well, maybe, being on the side of like celebrity reporting, this, that, maybe that's not for me. And I said, maybe I'll veer more towards business journalism and like, report in that side. And, worked for a bunch of different publications, magazines. I did some freelance. I worked as an editor in a bunch of publications. And the tipping point for me was actually when I got a bunch of awards. So I wrote an article. It was a big investigative piece about the high rate of drownings amongst Black and brown kids.
Mm.
And, Black kids drown at a rate 8 to 9 times that of white kids. Brown kids, it's about 5 to 6 times. And it's for a lot of reasons. They don't have role models in that space. If they're going to pursue a sport, it's usually basketball or football. They don't even see swimming as kind of a life skill that you need to know. There's just a lot of reasons. So I reported on this for, 6 months, spoke to 90 different people. And then I won a bunch of awards. Like I won a Best in Show award for business journalists. I won the Jesse Neal Award, which is the equivalent of the Pulitzer Prize for business
Babs, how old were
journalism.
you?
I was 26 years old.
Oh
Yeah.
my
And
God.
I won a bunch of these huge awards. The story got picked up by the New York Times. The Red Cross launched an inner city swim initiative as a result. Like there were so many crazy
Wow.
things that happened from this article. And the whole time I found myself like very strongly discontented because I kept feeling, wait a minute, I'm getting all these awards and accolades for talking to parents at the absolute worst moment of their life. Like I literally talked to moms who had lost their babies and were never going to see them again about the worst moment of their life. And I'm writing this story and then winning all these awards for it. Like my brain, it just couldn't reconcile it. And I was like, what the hell am I doing? Like, what am I doing with my life? Like I'm benefiting off of the suffering of people. Like this is not why I got into journalism. And it was that year that I got offered a job running a magazine in the housing industry. Now, this is 2006, and I got a job as an editor overseeing 3 publications in the housing industry. And I was the youngest editor they'd ever hired. I was one of 2 women in this company. And 2 years later, the recession happens, which was all in housing. So I found myself having to lay off more than half my staff at the age of 28. And at that same time, I was ending a relationship that was a very unhealthy and toxic relationship. So my professional career felt like, what am I doing with my life? My personal career felt like, what am I doing with my life? And it was that time that I heard a radio interview with Rainn Wilson, who I didn't know. And it literally changed the course of my life.
Wait a minute. How did you get from okay, I'm going to ask the dumbest question. How do you get from listening to Rainn on an interview to the man who eventually marries you?
Yeah, he is. He's now my work husband, and we have spent 17 years
Yeah.
working
He
together.
literally married you. He was the officiant of your wedding and he married you professionally.
Yes. He married me professionally and he officiated my actual wedding to my real life husband.
How did you meet him after that?
So Rainn is a Baha'i, but I did not know him, right? And he was this actor on a hit show, The Office, at the time. That was like peak Office years, right? And he does this interview on NPR. And I remember driving down Connecticut Avenue in DC. I'm driving down, I'm listening to this NPR interview, and he's talking about all of things. And the interviewer asked him, well, what do you care about outside of like acting? Like, what are you passionate about? And he says, oh, I'm building a media business to explore philosophical and spiritual ideas in a more relevant kind of media way. And I remember pulling my car over and I just stopped, put my hazards on, and I'm like, huh. Because my whole entire grad school thesis was about this. My grad school thesis was about building a media platform, the need for media to raise and elevate the voices of philosophers and spiritual thinkers, that we don't do that anymore. Like we haven't done that since, the days of Plato and Aristotle. So I wrote my whole thesis about this. And I pull over and I'm like begrudgingly sitting there being like, of course, Rainn Wilson could do it. He wouldn't be rejected from this idea because he's a big famous actor. And I was, again, low point career wise. Like I've laid off half my staff. I'm like, why am I even doing journalism? I ended this long toxic relationship. And I'm like, what the hell am I doing with my life? And this guy, this actor gets to go live my dream. Like what? And I was both, I have to find a way to be a part of this, and also like angry about
There's a theme here.
I know. There's a
Okay,
theme here.
keep going.
So then I and so many people in the years since have been like, how did you have the courage to reach out and connect with Rainn Wilson?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I actually don't think it was courage. I think it was desperation. I was at such a low in my life that I was like, I have nothing to lose. I have nothing to lose trying to do this. And I reached out to everyone I knew in LA, friends, Baha'is, et cetera. And I probably sent 24 emails and phone calls trying to find a path into this. And I ended up connecting with a friend who was really good friends with his then co-founder, a guy named Devin Gundry. and I meet with Devin. I do a call with him, a video call with him back in the day when there were really video calls. I think we did it through Facebook because Facebook was testing video chats at that time.
Wow.
Yeah. So I do this call with him and he's like, oh, actually, your background is kind of what we need because we need more content right now. And we need that. And you seem really smart and accomplished. Like you should come to LA and meet with Rainn. And I would happen to be coming to LA the next week to visit my family from DC. So I was like, well, I'll be there next week. And he was like, great, we're going to figure it out. So I meet with Rainn. Like I'm like this immigrant kid who's like been doing journalism and like had a rough couple of years. And I like walk onto the set of The Office and I sit in the trailer with Rainn Wilson in full Dwight regalia for this meeting. And I literally am like, what the hell am I doing here? Like, I do not belong here. Like, what is happening? And I have this conversation with Rainn and what is, I think the reason that Rainn and I have worked together so well for 17 years is that we actually view the world very similarly. And so I say all these ideas of things we can do for content for this initiative. And he's like, this is all great. I resonate with this. I resonate with that. And how quickly do you think you could do that if we hired you to do this? Because we launch in 3 weeks. We're trying to launch in 3 weeks. I'm going on Oprah's Super Soul podcast and I want to launch this thing, which became soulpancake. I want to launch soulpancake on this podcast. And I was like, oh, 3 weeks? No problem. Thinking in my head, like, oh, 3 weeks, like that's not enough time to do anything. But I was like, yeah, no problem. I could totally make it happen. I got this. Sure. And he walks out because he gets called to like review some schedule thing or script thing. And Devin is sitting with me and he's like, so, we can figure out how much to pay you, blah, blah, blah. Like, what would you want? And I was like, honestly, like, this would be my dream job. I don't want to be paid for it. I just want to be part of building this. Like, he's like, oh, then ask for equity. Cause Devin's a white dude and white dudes love to be like, do it. So he's just like, just ask for it. And I'm like, and he's like, yeah. So Rainn comes back in and he's like, well, Devin can figure out the logistics. And I just blurt out, well, I'd love to just get equity and be part of this rather than getting paid. And I'm like, what am I doing? Like in my head, I'm like, what the hell am I saying? What are these words coming out of my mouth? And Rainn was like, yeah, we can figure it out. We'll do like a vesting schedule if it all works out. And Devin will figure it out with you. And I'm like, uh-huh.
So wait a minute, hold the phone. You were going to get any cash whatsoever? You just went into it as a 50-50 partner?
No, I went into it saying, just give me equity. I don't even pay me. Just give me equity.
Yeah.
And I spent the next 3 weeks, like I didn't sleep. I took time off from work. Like I took all my vacation days and I did not sleep. And I launched them with 6 weeks worth of runway of content. And I got it together in 3 weeks. I called in favors from every writer, reporter, photographer, videographer I knew to get them launched. And at the end of the 3 weeks, like we worked out a vesting deal, like a 1-year vest to basically own 10% of the company, to get 10% of.
And how did you feed yourself? They gave you a salary.
Well, I was still working. This was a side hustle.
Oh,
I was still working. Yeah. So I was taking vacation days from work and doing this on the side up till 2-3 in the morning at night, like making this happen. And then when it was off and running, I was like, okay. And at that point I quit my job. I moved to San Francisco and actually took another job in San Francisco and was doing this on the side.
So you could be closer to your side hustle.
So be closer to my side hustle and get away from like the toxicity of DC, just get away from it all. And I moved to San Francisco, was still doing this as a side hustle. And it was a year and a half in that we realized actually this isn't working because soulpancake in its early days was built like as a social network that was sharing these ideas and like having kind of inspirational content, but then wanted the engagement to happen with people. And we had about 70,000 followers, but nothing was really like taking off except for the video content. And so a year and a half in, we decided, let's pivot this and become just a full video studio, a content studio. And Devin at that time, who was the acting CEO, I was running content, he quit to go start another company. And so I took over as CEO, quit my job in San Francisco and moved down to LA. And we were off to the races. And once we pivoted to being a content studio and a production entity was really when we blew up. It was really when we blew up.
Can I just point something out to you?
Sure. What are you going to tell me that's going to make me go like, oh my God?
I mean, some of the best work you've done in your career started as a side hustle.
Yes.
It wasn't the quote unquote big job.
Oh, shit. You're right. You're right. You're right.
It became that.
It did become a big job.
organically,
Yeah.
but it was out of the passion for the work
Yeah.
that it
You're right.
was a massive success.
Damn it, Carla.
I'm just listening to you. I had no idea Soul Pancake was a side hustle.
It was a full on side hustle for almost 2 years.
Holy smokes, Shabs, that's major.
Yeah. And then I took it over as CEO. And we went out and I went out and raised money. We pitched it as a production company, and we were rejected by traditional entertainment. Like every meeting we took with every big studio was like, people want Kardashians, people want, drama. They don't want feel good, inspirational, human connection, life's big questions. Please, nobody wants that. And so we actually launched on YouTube, because YouTube was like in the burgeoning heyday of YouTube. And very quickly got 1 million subscribers and had many videos go viral. And, fast forward almost 10 years later, it was 9 years, it was almost 9 years later, we had 10 million fans. We had almost 1 billion video views. We produced 5,000 pieces of video content. I had 40 employees. I had a $20 million recurring revenue. I mean, I built a real business, and then went out to raise more money and ended up with acquisition offers. Yeah, it was an interesting runway.
You have created some of my most favorite content of all time. I mean, I knew of Kid President long before
Thank
you and I
you.
met.
Yeah. And Kid President, to this day, Kid President is still used in classrooms, and we still get notes and emails about Kid President and what it means to people. We made the show My Last Days, which is about individuals with terminal illness, ended up getting a show on the CW about that. It got more than 50 million views on that series. We did the series The Science of, which was the science of happiness, the science of empathy. And those videos have been used in college curriculums. They've been used at youth camps and youth training things. There was one woman who wrote us about the fact that she used a video we did about body image in a group for girls who were recovering from eating disorders. And she said, it is hands down the only thing that gets these girls to break through and actually talk about their bodies is the video you guys made. And it is truly humbling to look back at the library of work. I'm so proud of it. And I feel like I truly changed the hearts of many, many people with that
Millions.
chapter of work. Millions of people.
Millions. Who can say that?
Yeah.
Jabs, okay, so I have a question. With the gift of hindsight, what would have happened differently if you would not have been rejected by traditional media? Do you know?
Honestly, we probably would have been doing what every other company was doing, which is try to get stuff made and live on that 10% margin that you make as a production company, and maybe get a show that, wins an Emmy. But I don't know that we would have had the impact and the far reach that we had. I mean, of that 10 million subscribers, probably 3 million fans were global. I mean, we had channels in South Korea, in China, in Mexico, in India, all replicating Soul Pancake videos in their own languages. Like, we are copying a Soul Pancake video and then just recreating it with people in India or people in South Korea because they loved the content so much. And I mean, to this day, sometimes I see things that I'm like, holy cow, like that's crazy that it had that much of a ripple effect. So you're right. Had we not been rejected, had every studio not told us nobody will watch this, and we were forced to go straight to an audience, I don't know that we would have had the same impact. We really, it was lightning in a bottle. It really was lightning in a bottle.
I don't know your industry, but I've done some work with Netflix enough to know that worst case scenario, your stuff would have gotten shelved or not made at all.
Yep.
It would have wouldn't have been funded internally, and y'all would have been in perpetual pitch mode. Or best case scenario, its reach would have been limited to North America.
Yes, 100%. And I eventually got into the traditional media, right? By having such success direct to audience. We literally launched a brand agency within Soul Pancake, and we were doing commercial work. We did Coca-Cola's Super Bowl campaign one year. We worked with Visa. We worked with Purina and Nestle. We worked with huge brands doing commercial and branded work. And then we launched a traditional kind of TV division, and we had shows on MTV, on the Oprah Winfrey Network, on Discovery Kids. We did docu-series for VH1, a scripted series that was literally the follow on to Schitt's Creek. So, I mean, we had so many things that, took off in the days that followed, but we had a singular belief that people desired the content that we wanted to make. And that if we could remind people that there was light in the darkness of the internet, that we're all more connected and tell stories that uplifted and inspired. And, even when sitting people at their hardest moments, I felt like I had this journalism chapter where I was talking to people at their worst moment and I was benefiting from it. Whereas with Soul Pancake, I could, we could make a story about someone with terminal illness. And people were so moved by that story that they donate to that person, they donate to that research or fund. And that person then got, we did one story about a young boy named Zach Sobiak. That series, My Last Days, was created by Justin Baldoni. Yes, that Justin Baldoni. And no, I'm not going to talk about the Blake Lively drama, but Justin Baldoni made that film for us, that series for us. It was really a beautiful series. And one of the films that went viral was about a young boy named Zach Sobiak. And his dream was to be a musician. And he ended up getting signed by a label and having a record come out before he passed away.
I
And so
remember.
it felt like there was mutual benefit to telling stories of people at their hardest hours. And it didn't feel like exploitation the same way that journalism did to me. And I really, it was very powerful to be part of, like I said, that magic, that lightning in a bottle
Yeah.
for a little more than a decade.
I stumbled on that content after he passed. It was really,
Mm,
really very beautiful. It was very beautifully done. And he was
thanks.
so talented.
He was so talented.
Yeah. Okay. So, Shabs, now you and Rainn are setting out to do it again, but a little bit differently.
A little differently this time around. Yeah. So Rainn, a couple years ago, in the height of the pandemic, he's like, I'm going to write a book about spirituality. And, everyone was like, okay, crazy sitcom actor, like, who's going to read a book that you're writing about spirituality? So he did. He wrote a book called Soul Boom, Why We Need a Spiritual Revolution. And I did a lot of work on that book, editing and helping to shape certain sections of it. And the book actually went on to be a bestseller. And it really makes the case for why maybe ancient spiritual wisdom shouldn't have gotten thrown out with religion, as we all did. We all kind of said religion kind of sucks and threw it away. And we threw out all the ancient spiritual wisdom with it. And yet there's tens of thousands of years of wisdom in a lot of these spiritual practices. And so how do we use some of that to solve some of today's problems? And the book went on to be a bestseller. And he was approached about doing a podcast by the same name. And so about a year and a half ago, started a podcast, we hired an executive producer to kind of oversee that and run the podcast, which now has 2 million monthly downloads. And
Wow.
suddenly he was like, am I building a new business? And he was like, Shabnam, are we building a new business? And I'm like, what do you mean we? I already did that. I don't know. I don't want to do that again. So now Soul Boom is kind of its own little entity. And the mission of Soul Boom is to create what we're calling playful and profound media that allows people to undergo both a personal spiritual transformation and harness spiritual tools for social transformation. And so that's the mission behind it. It's a much more overtly spiritual brand than Soul Pancake ever was. I can't seem to get away from things with soul in the title. And so I spent last year building a strategic plan for Soul Boom. So I've got kind of a roadmap for the next 3 years. We're building it both as a for-profit and a nonprofit entity, so we can take foundation dollars, because there's actually a lot of foundations out there who want to support the kind of spiritual elevation of society. And so we've raised a couple $100,000 through the nonprofit to do more grassroots level work in these spiritual conversations. And then on the for-profit side, our approach to it is not to do what we did with Soul Pancake, which is daily videos, which was such a grind, but really think about what are the tentpole media moments we can create that coalesces the people having this conversation. There's about 1.5 million followers right now in terms of social, between YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok. And so how do we motivate that audience to continue these conversations and then drop in tentpole media moments that get them engaged? And so this last year, we launched the Soul Boom workbook, Spiritual Tools for Modern Living. It's an interactive workbook that gets people digging into and doing their own inner work from a spiritual perspective. And then, in a year, we'll launch the Notorious G.o.d as a film that gets people talking about this dialogue. And then a year after that, Rainn has another book coming out about the meaning of life. And so that'll be another tentpole media moment. And then in between that, we're using the nonprofit to really create the grassroots conversation. So the funding that I've gone out and gotten for the nonprofit side is we're leveraging it to build what we're calling Soul Boom chapters. And so we're incentivizing people to take the workbook, start a book club, and start to engage in spiritual conversation with people around them, and then form essentially a chapter division of Soul Boom that when we launch the film, when we launch the next item, that we can do screenings with these chapter organizations and really create this grassroots spiritual dialogue about the role that spirituality can play in both how we create community, how we move through the world, how we notice problems around us, how we show up, what values we bring to the table when we show up, and how ancient wisdom can form the way that we interact with the world, whether that's in dealing with climate issues, whether that's in dealing with mental health issues, immigration. How do we actually leverage some of these spiritual tools in a more authentic way and move away from what Christian nationalism, frankly, has co-opted, which is spiritual lessons for political leverage. And we're saying, hey, let's break those two apart and actually say, what does the ancient spiritual wisdom tell us from Eastern traditions, Western traditions, indigenous traditions? There are through lines and lessons that exist in all of them. And if you get to those seeds, what are they telling us about how we should move through the world?
So it's interesting in hearing you talk, Shabs. One of the things I'm noting is you're not saying religion, you're saying spirituality.
Yes,
What makes that?
intentionally.
Yeah, tell me more about that.
So I think we've forgotten, and this is something Rainn and I talk about all the time. It's so much of the conversations that he has with his guests on Soul Boom is that we've all moved away from the fact that that we have a spirit, a soul, an essence that is connected to the larger fabric of the universe and connected to others. And so religion forms around rituals and practices and communities, but some religions don't even invest in that recognition of the spirit in the other. And that's when we talk about spirituality and how important it is to invest in our spirituality. It's in getting in tone and in tune with our own soul and spirit and recognizing the soul and spirit in others. And that's the kind of spirituality that we're trying to foster. And then how do you then live that spirituality out loud? It's in taking some of this ancient wisdom, these values, and exercising them. And how do you build communities that center first and foremost the spiritual, center the essence inside all of us that connects us, not around the rituals and the practices, but around the recognition of each other's sacredness and divinity and the beauty that exists in all of us as human beings.
I've heard you talk about this as long as I've known you.
Yeah, it lights me up. It has always lit me up. Because I've always been curious about other people. It's why I went into journalism. Like I genuinely like knowing what makes people tick, what their stories are, why they are the way they are. I've always enjoyed that. And I've also enjoyed how that fits into the larger social fabric. Like you being who you are is why you made the choices you did that then had this ripple effect in the world and in society. And I think that's fascinating. And those stories are really interesting to me. It's every article I ever wrote, every film I've ever made digs a little bit. It's like, you're doing this really cool thing, but let's understand like what made you do that. And then also get to the core values that shaped that. And so much of those values are connected to our inner spirits. And so, yeah, I've always cared about this. I've always found it fascinating. And I've also gone on a journey of like learning the science of it. Like I got a certification in positive psychology because I was like, I want to understand, like, is there also like data and science that supports what I believe is true spiritually? And yes, there's a ton. So I've always been really interested in this.
So I'm sorry for beating you over the head with this, but I can't imagine a bigger job. I cannot imagine a bigger job than showing the human race that we're all connected, especially right now.
Yeah, you're right. The words you're saying are right. And yet then I say, well, then why the hell can't I earn more money doing this?
That's going to come as soon as you,
I literally, I'm like, but I got kids to send to college and
Yeah.
feed and take to dance classes.
I got news for you. You don't need anybody else for that. It's coming. It's coming. You will get I feel very strongly with every bone in my body. We'll look back on this from 10 years from now and we will laugh our asses off. It's going to catch you in the biggest of ways.
I hope you're right, because I will say, like, the last 5 years were such a struggle. Like, I left Soul Pancake thinking I sold the company, and I spent 4 years working in a bigger job at a bigger studio, and thought, okay, the next job is going to be the even bigger job at the even bigger studio with the bigger influence and platform. And I came out of it and it was like crashing into a brick wall, not
Yeah.
getting that job, and having to like accept that rejection is God's protection. And right now, when you said, your side hustle is what led to the big job, I'm like, shit.
Yeah.
Because I resisted so hard for 2 years. Rainn was like, come help me build this soul boom thing. And I'm like, no, I don't want to do that again. Come help me build this soul boom thing. No, I don't want to do that again. And finally, this last like year and a half, I was like, I can't get away from it. All right, fine. What do you want to build? No, I believe that too. And actually, we should probably do this. And maybe we should do that. I mean, we should launch this.
I mean, we are such mirrors. We are such mirrors. I mean, I was convinced that when I was at IBM, I'd made it, and that the job after IBM was going to be another fucking massive job. We are such mirrors. I just want to say I can relate and identify. So it's really easy for me to tell you what I see, but I also get it. Like I get what you're saying. And I think we can't discount what's been going on in your personal life.
Yeah. Yeah. That's also been a hard chapter. I mean, I didn't get married until I was 39. And the last 5 years of my life has been fertility. That's just been the thing that has consumed my personal life, my relationship, my family, like for 5 years. It took several rounds of fertility treatments to get my daughter. And I was able to have my son, and then I was able to have my daughter. And yet I've always wanted a big family. So I've spent the last 18 months going through more rounds of IVF and IUIs and biopsies and drugs and injections and treatments and transfers and freezing embryos and genetic testing, and have had losses. And it's hard because you can't control it. I can't control how many eggs I have left and how many good eggs I have left. It's completely out of my control. And I've always been, as you know, someone rejects me and I'm like, I'm going to find a way to make it happen.
Even
And
if it's an
this has
egg,
been like,
even if it's an
even if
embryo.
it's finding a damn good egg left in an ovary somewhere, I'm going to find a way to get it. And that's been really hard to be like, maybe actually this is a rejection I can't overcome. And this is something I can't control or will my way out of. I have been able to will my way in every aspect of my career. I've willed something into existence, and I have willed changes when I needed them to come. And I've willed changes in bad relationships, and I've willed changes into existence. And this is one place that I cannot will into existence a good egg. And I am in my head about it in a big way. It's hard. And it's lonely. And even though lots of women go through fertility, and I'm so blessed to have 2 babies, and many women don't get to the point of having what I have. And yet, because I've craved the big family for so long, it's also hard to let go of that dream. And there are many, many nights and I actually have a super supportive husband. God bless him. He's an engineer. So, at my age, it's like a 2% chance. And he's like, well, based on the number of IVFs, we have this many eggs and we have that. And I'm like, you need to turn your engineer brain off. And I know that's his way of like supporting, but sometimes I'm like, dude,
Don't need the stats.
Yeah, I don't need the stats right now. I'm living the stats. I did the 60 shots. I know.
Oh man.
Yeah, so it's hard, and it's a strain, and it's hard to put your body through that. And it doesn't matter how many supplements you take. It doesn't matter how many, diet regimes you go on and health regimes you do. Like, I can't will into existence the one good egg I so desperately want for the third baby.
Oh,
It's hard.
babe. Yeah. Oh, so as someone who is also just wildly intolerant of hormones, like I couldn't even take birth control. I attempted to do hormone replacement therapy and failed. I can't imagine how hard this is on your body and mindset.
Yeah, every cycle really, I mean, your emotions go completely out of whack. Your body doesn't feel like your own. I mean, I'm assuming that many of the symptoms feel like perimenopause because they probably are perimenopause, but the hormones don't help. I mean, I was weaning my daughter from nursing her at the age of 17 months and going to the doctor saying like, I have these weird things happening. And he's like, well, that's because you're postpartum still. You're still nursing. So you're technically postpartum, but also you're probably perimenopausal. And I'm like, who knew you could be both of those things at the same time? But cool. And then here I am, you know, dumping a bunch more hormones into my body. And so, I mean, I found myself irritable. I have found myself exuberant. I have found myself drenched in sweat 3 times a night. I have found myself, with massive headaches, with weight gain that is in weird places that I didn't expect. So it's been a mind and body fuck in a lot of ways. And yet I keep going. So what's that about?
Yeah. How, as someone who really loves you and cares about you, how do I support you right now? What do you need?
Honestly, everyone keeps telling me to stop. Everyone tells me, you've got your 2 blessings. When are you going to stop? And I'm so tired of people telling me, when are you going to stop? And so I feel like what I need is just, for as long as I'm willing to do it, love and encouragement through it, because um, it is something I want. I've always wanted a big family, and it's really
Yeah.
hard to accept that I'm not going to get that. It's actually my therapist who was like, well, Shabnam, your numbers are good. If you're going to regret not trying for a third, then just do it. And
Yeah.
I was like, right. Why am I not? My numbers are good. I do still have egg reserves. I do still have good hormone levels. Like, why am I not? Why am I not trying? And will I regret not trying? And so now that I'm in the mindset of like, I just have to keep trying and it'll happen, it's been hard to get out of that. I have kind of told myself, and I've talked with my doctor a lot about it, that I have 2 more rounds in me, because she has 2 more protocols that she wants me to try, given that my numbers are still good. The last round, I got 18 eggs. I'm 46. I shouldn't be
That's
getting
amazing.
18 eggs,
Yeah, it's
but I'm getting
amazing.
18 eggs. And
Yeah.
so it is, the numbers are there. I just have to kind of hope that I get to one good one. But I have kind of told myself 2 more rounds just with new protocols. And if that doesn't work, then I've thought about egg donors. I've thought about adoption. I've thought about fostering, but I've also had a lot of deep in my head talks about at some point you have to stop. And maybe this is the lesson you need to learn in all this is
Mm.
at what point do you have to stop? I learned rejection is God's protection with my career, and other doors opened and I was able to, have other things happen. And at what point do I tell myself to stop? Because I'm not ready yet, but at what point do I need to be ready to just accept that it needs to stop at some point?
Yeah. Well, I trust your intuition.
Thanks. I don't know that my husband trusts my intuition right now.
I
He's
trust
like, how many
I
more rounds
trust
of
you.
this are
Whatever is unfolding, I trust you and I trust your intuition.
Thanks.
And I'm here to support it in any which way or form that you need. And I love you and I want that for you.
I
And
want it for me too. Oh God, now
having
I
having
am gonna cry, Carla.
oh no, I told you I would cry on you. Oh,
I
shit.
really want it, Carla. I don't know how to explain how much I want the big family. I want the big family so much, and it's so hard to just accept that maybe I won't. And I'm sorry. Shit. See, I wore the waterproof mascara for a reason.
Me too. Oh, Shabs, I want it for you too. And
Thank you.
I am someone who's seen you in action. And I've seen you boss around 20 high-powered people who don't listen to anyone and whip us into shape. I have faith in you. There's a reason rain keeps coming back to you. You know, you are the manifester. You are the perpetual producer director. Um, I
I get stuff done.
You get shit done, girl, unlike anyone I've ever observed in my life. And
Just say you
and
know a lot of amazing people, so I don't know that that's
oh,
true.
it is very true, and you know it. And it may not happen how you think it's gonna happen, but I feel like it's gonna happen.
From your mouth to God's ears. Talk
Yeah.
about a reckoning of faith too.
Woof.
There are times that I am angry at God. And I'm like, I've done everything right my whole life. And I did all the things and I have
I
done
was a
nothing
good
but what I
girl.
deserve. I was a good girl. And I did all the things and I got all the gold stars and I built all the things and I moved people's hearts. I'm like, this is the one that I want. Can't I have this thing that I want? Yeah. It's hard.
For
It's
for
a hard
me, yeah,
thing.
you want it for
Yeah,
you.
for me.
Girl, we have a whole episode on being a good girl. You and I should talk about that. That one's going to come back and bite you in the ass at right about 52.
I read about
So just wait.
52.
Yeah.
Okay.
So being the good girl is going to bite you in the ass.
Oh,
You'll rebel against that. We'll talk later.
okay.
Um,
That'll be the 10 years from now recording that we do.
totally. Totally. So Shabs, you talked earlier about the fact that you pray every night.
I do.
And you reverted back to your prayers when you moved away from your faith and you came back to it. You reverted back to the prayers of your youth. What do you pray for now?
Yeah, I pray a lot for my kids. Now, I pray a lot that I am a good mom for them, that I show up for them in the right way, that they are healthy and happy and can be good humans. Like I couldn't care less if they go to a good college, and maybe this is me undoing immigrant mentality, but I
Yeah,
couldn't
I
care
can
less
relate to
what they
that.
study. I couldn't care less what they study, what college they go to. I really just care that they can shake someone's hand, look them in the eye, and have a conversation with them. Like
Swear to God.
yeah, truly. And so I pray for my kids a lot. I pray for acceptance for me to accept what God's design is for me. But I also pray for fertility. Um, I say that prayer every night too. There's a very specific prayer I say every night that's about bearing fruit and blossoming trees. And so I say that every night. But I do also pray for acceptance at the same time. Um, because I know that while I want the fertility, I also need to bring more acceptance into my life for the things I can't control. And the last thing I pray for, honestly, lately has been my marriage, because this has been a hard chapter. This 18 months of timed intercourse and ejaculation and hormones and injections. And like, it's just been, and also having little kids. I have a 5-year-old and a 2-year-old who, are in my bed every other night, because they woke up and want to be with mommy. And so it's just been a hard chapter relationship wise. And I pray a lot that like we still find times to have fun together. Like that's often what I pray about is not,
Yeah.
I pray less for like the intimacy. And I just pray like, God, please let us have like moments of fun together.
Yeah.
Because that's what I crave as almost like a release, escape from stress
Yeah.
and all the other stuff.
Well, and Shabs, you're super fun too. So I get that too. I want that for you too. But yeah, God, I didn't even think about the fact that in terms of all the hormonal stuff you're going through, throw in sleep deprivation. Holy smokes.
Yeah, throw
And
in sleep
and a
deprivation.
and quote unquote career crisis. Okay, so
And then you'll wonder why I'm a nut job and I can't seem to lose this extra 10 pounds from these babies.
while simultaneously changing the world, just as an aside. So Shabs, what is your hope or prayer for the world right now?
My biggest hope, honestly, it's why I do the work I do, is my greatest wish is that people are reminded that they are part of one human family. It is my greatest wish in life because what I see is incredible isolation. Every industry in the world is actively working to isolate us. Like get in an Uber and it's a quiet ride, and DoorDash, leave it on my doorstep. It's not just phones, it is every industry. And so with a world and society and businesses that are actively working to isolate us, and social media that is algorithmically designed to feed our base selves, and a social dialogue that is about identity, right? I am a this and a that and a name me in this way identity. The one thing we are all forgetting is that, oh wait, I'm also a human and you're also a human, and at our core we probably all just want love and safety and belonging. And if I can remember that I am one member of this very interconnected human family, I think it could change a lot of things. And so that's my biggest wish, is that we sometimes forget we're so individually focused and so eyes down on our, you know, we know someone, we both know someone who often says, keep your eyes on your own yoga mat. And I also am a big believer in the idea that comparison is the thief of joy.
Yeah.
That being said, sometimes you do need to look up and around and realize that other people are struggling just like you. Other people are hurting just like you. Other people are thriving in the ways that you want to thrive. And we are all so interconnected. And we can't always keep our eyes down. We got to look up and look in the eyes of others sometimes too.
Amen to that, sister. Amen to that. I've never looked into his work, even though he's so famous. I recently heard Tony Robbins speak on the Diary of a CEO podcast. And he, in essence, said what you just said, which is everything we do ultimately is just motivated by the fact that we want to feel and experience love.
Yeah, I believe that.
Everything. I mean, everything you do. If we really start to pick apart why we go after the big job, if we really start to pick apart why the big school matters, if we really start to pick apart why you want to have another child, if you really start to pick apart every single motivation, at its root comes back to that.
Love, belonging, connection. It all comes back to it.
Yeah. Okay, as we wrap things up, I want to call out a couple of things to our audience that I think are important messages and your story, which is make sure that when you're pushing hard, you are alert to what's pulling you, that you don't miss what's pulling you.
That's true. Very true.
And there was something that you said early on in terms of when you reached out to Rainn, which is you had nothing to lose. And you and I are both in this period of our lives where we've kind of stripped away the thing that we were afraid to lose.
Yeah.
And so now we've lost it. So now we really have nothing to lose. So now what? Do we do our greatest work because we have nothing to lose?
You're probably right. We probably will. Let's
Right?
hope we do.
I hope so. I pray that's what I pray about. I want to be in service of humanity. You're well on your way, girl. You are well on your way.
I mean, I really do love I love what I do. I love the work that I do. And when I say I am in my purpose and meaning, that is true. It's very true about
What a
what I'm
gift.
doing right now. And I feel so blessed to have that. And yet, just like everyone, I still struggle with those inner voices. I still struggle with other areas of my life not being what they want to be. Why is my bank account not where I want it to be? Why is am I spending my time on projects that don't actually like bring me any income and yet bring me a lot
Oh.
of joy? And so yeah, it's hard. It's a hard, challenging place to be in. And I I read a lovely depressing stat about how women their peak earning years are mid 40s, and for men it's mid 50s. And I was like, well, shit, I'm in my peak earning years. This does not bode well for the future.
First of all, I'm going to go back. I'm going to go back to Tufan and what we were saying about Tufan and his statistics. Girl, you have been bucking the trend since you landed on this planet. You have broken every statistic. So you are not the mean, my love. And
I hope you're right.
I do
I'm
something.
doing a lot of face plunging in cold ice water and dyeing the hair to make sure that I give myself another 10-year runway.
I mean, so here's the other thing, Shabs. I do this thing, and I'm going to do it for you. I do this thing for women when they turn 50, where I spam them 50 women that are hot or interesting, that are over 50. And
J-Lo, front and center.
Totally. And one of the things I realized in doing it is the vast majority of the 50 women that I send didn't really get their start until they were later in life.
I did listen to, I'm not a huge Mel Robbins fan, but I listened to a podcast that she did that was it wasn't an interview, it was just her talking. And it was about these timelines that we all set for ourselves and why the hell are
They're
we so
bullshit.
married to these dates. And it was really a fascinating, there's such bullshit,
It's such bullshit. And the world is changing so fast. I was having this conversation with actually my husband right now. He's kind of struggling from a career standpoint. And I was like, dude, AI is the great equalizer. It's the hard reset. Like, if you want to have a great career, go study that, go embrace that. And suddenly you will be, one of the most attractive candidates that there is. Yeah. So it's, I think there are these cycles. And I think also we have these manufactured timelines. And you and I know because of our spirituality that it's all man-made. It's all a construct. Yeah. Yeah. Well, Shabs, I have to tell you, as hard as things are right now, I feel so energized talking to you. It feels so good to talk to you.
Oh, That makes me happy to hear.
And I know
It's
that things are
sometimes hard to
hard.
be in your head and hard
Yeah.
moments and be like, can I make it through this? And not like, because I genuinely do try to cultivate like, you know, good energy, joyful energy in my life. And so it's really hard to like be in these moments and be like, no, but I still want to cultivate that. And so it
Yeah.
makes me really happy to hear that.
You cultivate joy and connection. I
Thank
feel
you.
joy and connection after this time with you. I want
I love
more of
you. Thank
Shabs.
you.
I want more of Shabs. Well,
Well,
I
if
am
you can,
wish
if you can get our class to get their shit together and respond to my messages,
oh my
we'll see each other and do the connection in June.
I will be the Tony Soprano of
Can you
RSVP.
please
Call
can
them
you
all.
crack the whip
Yeah,
on everyone?
I will do it for you. Anything for you, Shabs. Well, I am wishing you Godspeed in the work that you're doing.
Thank you.
I'm wishing you that big, joyful family that you want. It's going to happen one way or another. It's going to happen. And keep trusting yourself because thank God you've done the work that you've done in the world. We need you right now.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, we need you. All right, Shabs, I love you. Thank you for giving of yourself.
Thank you for having me.
Thank y'all for listening today. If you're so inclined, please follow, subscribe, download, share, all of the things so that we can keep going. We appreciate your support so much. If you're interested in learning more, go to thecoeffect.co.